Hello, my name's Dr. Larry Griffin of EcoLG Limited, and I'm working with the Stove Network for the duration of the Wild Goose Festival as their scientist in residence. I hope today to show you quickly some of the features of the web mapping that we developed under the Galloway Glens project for Dumfries and Galloway Council and for the National Trust for Scotland, who provided some funding for that and for the tracking of native grey-leg geese that are probably resident in this region, though we hope to find out more about them because so little is known about their movements within the UK and locally. Resident species greylag we've been tracking for the last 2 years, and also have made available on this web mapping service some of the Svalbard barnacle geese I've been tracking over the last, well, basically I've been tracking them for about 15 years, but some of the tags I'll be showing you are um, really from work carried out in the last 2 or 3 years, as it happens for the green and white fronted geese as well, which breed on the west side of Greenland. Some of those were tagged and marked under the Galloway Glens project as well, as we try to understand their use of the wetlands that are being restored at the NTS Threave site at Lochend there, near Castle Douglas. So yeah, just quickly run through what you'll be greeted by if you've clicked on the link from the Stove website. Um, Basically, it's goosenews.org/goose tracks, and that's all one word for Goose News and one word for Goose Tracks. Or if you've typed in Goose News and Open Layers into Google, you'll probably find this as one of the first hits that come up. You'll probably be greeted by an Our Partners page, which does just highlight the Dumfries and Galloway Council logo and the National Trust for Scotland logo, who provided support for this project over the last couple of years. So go to the red cross on the right and click that to shut that down and get down to the actual mapping page, which initially should show up as the grey-leg geese and cover the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those stars show the last position from the 5 grey-leg goose collar tags. So they're solar powered tags, 3 solar panels on them. We caught them all at Lochend near Cogath over the last 2 years during molt roundups, and they're mostly fitted females, but there's a couple of adult males as well. The star shows the last position that was created, the GPS fix, and they are coming through about every 6 hours or so. They're connecting with the phone network, GSM coverage, and GPS fixes are being collected about every 15 minutes to an hour, depending on light levels again and battery levels. So if it's poor weather, you might find things are not updating as often, or there's not as much detail on the tracks each day. And that applies to all the tags that are shown on these maps. So if you want to examine what's happening with the grey-leg geese, you can click on a symbol, and then on the left-hand side of the panel comes up telling you the time of that fix and the date and which bird it is referring to, which they've got a nickname, and also the leg ring is shown. So this is Czech, as we called it, CCZ was the green leg ring refitted. This one here is Hemp, which had the leg ring CBD. Again, the date there, 0614 on the 20th of September. So if you scroll your mouse wheel in on that, or use the positive button on the screen itself, you can zoom in and see where it was roosting at that time, 6 o'clock in the morning, so still dark nowadays at that point. And also it was there at just on midnight the day before as well. So basically that's its roost site at the Locher Briggs quarry there. And then in the day it's going out to feed on the pastures or stubbles that are created as the wheat fields are harvested at the moment. Earlier on it was the barley fields that were getting harvested. Now this is quite low level detail, which means it's quite quick to display it and zoom in. What you can do on that left hand menu bar as well is pick the date tab and go back in time a little bit. So you might go back to say the 16th for a bird, and the end date will be today anyway. And you can change how much detail you can see, so you could get a lot more detail putting on the high setting. Apply the changes, hit that button, and there you'll see, well, basically, I'll just scrolled out by accident there, which is going to cause it to have a few more issues displaying things. But yeah, basically you can see there it's added a whole lot more detail, and as you zoom in, you can see there at the bottom it looks that dark colour. It's probably a wheat field has been harvested, and one next to it. So they're on a stubble there. Trying to get across a bit, you can see they're on a stubble there, probably of a barley field, and there again a wheat field. You can see the tram lines on that as well. So you can explore what a goose is up to from a goose's own sort of diary perspective every day, almost every hour, and come up with your own ideas as to why you think certain fields might be more suitable than others, or certain roosts, by looking at what how close the birds are willing to go to road networks or houses or pylon lines, or of course for geese how willing they are to sort of feed right up next to belts of trees or woodland, because they live in this sort of landscape of fear, as it's called, where they're constantly assessing dangers, and so they want good clear view fields to be able to look out for potential disturbances, whether that's humans or birds of prey or land mammals such as foxes at night. So you can start to get an insight into where they like to feed, the wetlands that they like to use. On the right hand side, you've got a drop down again where you can choose the bird you want to look at. So clicking these coloured symbols lets you turn a bird to sort of be displayed or not. I'd suggest trying to go through each bird in turn and not being too zoomed in when you're applying the changes for the detail, not going too far back in time. So keep the date period to about a week probably at max. So if you wanted to look at the breeding period, you could go back to say the start of June, the 1st of June, and then put the end date as the 7th of June, just to get a little week there, and then you can see where some of these birds are breeding perhaps. So the grey-legged goose is one of our focal ones for the region of Dumfries and Galloway. Been trying to learn more about them and how they use the wetlands connected across the region, the reserves they're using. Not really a migratory species in the classic sort of sense, although we did find out last year that one went all the way to the Yorkshire Dales before it was shot. So with just two birds, it was already starting to show some interesting information. And then today I noticed that one has just gone from Loch Ken via Dumfries overnight, I think it was, and has headed all the way up to beyond Moffat there. So I haven't had a real chance to look at that yet, but I'd like to zoom in and see what that's been up to. But yeah, up the A74, M74 corridor, basically, beyond Moffat, using those fields up there. So that's quite an interesting one. That's just happened today. If you want to change the species, there's 3 species to choose from at the moment, although I might add more species in the future. This was the resident UK greylag population. You can also click on, again, on the species tab, you might want to look at the Svalbard barnacle geese as they start to move into the region. At the moment, they're probably still holed up in Svalbard, so there's no decent phone network as Svalbard, as you might expect. It's a real wilderness area, and basically until the real snows and hard frosts come into that area, and it really starts to freeze up, they are going to stay there until they are pushed out into sort of Bear Island and northern Norway. So that will happen over the next week. The earliest arrival dates for them tend to be genuine ones, tend to be the 16th of September. But yeah, any day now you could get a large influx if there's some particularly hostile weather up there. And in theory, there should be about 6 tags functional on them. Much smaller tag on a barnacle goose, of course, than a grey-leg goose. It's just got 2 little solar panels, and it only weighs less than 20 grams. So an amazing piece of kit on the neck of the bird. And I had 6 on those when they left, heading north in the first week of May from Norway, Lofoten Islands up towards Svalbard. So hopefully, 4 or 5 of those get in contact again soon and come back south and get a bit more charged, because daylight levels are dropping rapidly up there, and of course you're getting a lot of bad weather with snow showers and rain. So, and fog on places like Bear Island can be quite persistent. So we do need them to move south soon, and then once they get to Norway, they'll connect up the phone network again, and they'll download a lot of this summer season's data. So in theory, you'll be able to again go on the date tab for Svalbard barnacle goose and put in dates like sort of last week of May into the start of June, and have a little look and see if you think they've been nesting on islands there, or of course the classic sites on the top of the cliffs where you see the David Attenborough films of the young jumping out of the nest and just hitting on the boulders down below, and some of the Arctic foxes nipping in and grabbing them. But of course, some survive that and make it here by September or October, which is amazing, really, because they only kind of hatch off at the end of June in some cases. So they've only got 2 months really to develop their skills and grow before they're heading south again. The other bird on here, again with a little head icon, slightly different to the grey lag in that it's got the grey head and the orange bill, but it's got lovely white fronds at the base of the bill. That's the green and white fronted goose. There's 2 little flocks of them in the region. The whole flyway population is on the decline, unfortunately. Our 2 flocks are about 140, 160 each, one at Lochen, and again, that's at sort of Black Park based at CD, and also up as far as Parton. The other one is at Westfrue near Strand Ra, so the MOD site there around that, you tend to find them at Low and High Mai. So 2 small populations. In the past, about 4 years ago, I tagged 2 birds there, a adult female and one of its young ones of the year. And those 2 are still going, so they've done 4 complete full migratory cycles up to the high Arctic, West Greenland and back. And both of those arrived in southern Iceland. Again, there's no GSM phone network in Greenland, so they've got a hell of a lot of data on board them still that they're trying to download at present to fill in all the things they've been up to since May up to the present time. So although they're in southern Iceland, I know that they're from the phone signals, they're not actually showing the data from those areas just yet. It's kind of playing catch up at the moment in terms of downloading the data each day when it can. So soon those should show up in Iceland. And at the moment, I think the only bird you can see on there is actually one called Clegg 4, as you can see from the little right hand panel. And that is one we tagged 4 years or so ago in Isla. So that was a young bird at that point, then a young female. So that bird has probably downloaded. It's off to the. Oh, actually, yeah, you can see on the right. That is Piffo 53, that young bird that I tagged originally in Westfrue, Stranraer. So that's quite nice. That's showing up now in the southern lowlands of Iceland. So presumably it's backdated all of its data. And the other bird showing off to the west is basically this Isla bird as well. Quite a lot of detail on that. So both of those showing up, and I believe YH, the other Galloway Glens adult, is in here with it. What it was its old young one, Piffo 53. So it's good that they are just catching up now, and this is sort of migration live. They've only just got over there in the last week. So yeah, you can explore that and probably find out quite a few things about whether they bred successfully or not before I do, really, because you should see them at a site in late May, June, say near a lake. You might spot that they stayed put at site every day for maybe up to 24 days, and that means they'll have completed incubation successfully. So on board a lot of these tags as well, we have accelerometers, which are 3-dimensional traces, XYZ, of what the bird is up to activity-wise every sort of 15, 20 minutes, basically. So that gives you a good insight as well as to whether they're sitting still on a nest or if they're out and about flying, feeding or walking, those sort of things. So data's just coming in. As I say, Svalbard barnacle geese should be available soon. The only other button really that you might want to mess about with is up on the top right, and that's the open lands button itself, which means you can fade out or sort of increase the colouring of the goose tracks themselves. You can dull the screen a bit if it's a bit bright for you, or you can of course change the base layers, of which there's 2. There's the open street mapping, which is just like a normal sort of road map, buildings, things like that, or there's which I prefer is the satellite imagery, basically the Bing satellite imagery. So again, with the base layers you can reduce their brightness so you can see the birds a bit more, which I'd noticed there's the other one down there actually. So if I click on that, we find out that is YH. Okay, so YH has moved down here and its young one has moved over to the east, or at least this is where as far as it's got with its data download. So that's quite nice. We have actually got all 3 on there. So that shows the benefit of that base layer button being able to move that about. So I hadn't actually spotted that before. That's quite nice. Yes, so really have a play with this, and as I say, more birds will appear on here over time. And by the time we reach the Wild Goose Festival in the second half of October, hopefully you'll be dab hands with this and you'll know a lot more about what's going on in the geese. with the geese than I do and be able to ask questions at the events that are going on as part of that festival. So hopefully you can have some joy with this. So the main thing is not to zoom in too much with a lot of birds and ask for too many dates to be shown, because I'm quite away from my Wi-Fi box and it's just about handling it. But if you ask for like a month of data being shown at once, you're talking hundreds of thousands of data points basically. So I would avoid that unless you've got a big cup of tea with you and you're willing to wait. But otherwise, it'll probably just hang and you'll need to come out and open the whole website again, to be honest. Is probably the quickest way. So yes, goosenews.org/goose tracks should bring you to this, and it'll be the grey leg screen that opens up first of all. So I wish you luck with it all, and I hope you enjoy the events at the Goose Festival. Thanks very much.